he and I look a lot alike. Both tall, good looking, have great mustaches and goatees, stuff like that. Only difference is his mustache curls. Other than that, we're exactly the same, right?
Nearly.
Nearly. It's very good to be here with you folks tonight. This is the last meeting we had opportunity. Next Wednesday we're going to be in Kansas City, preparing to leave on Thursday morning back to Japan. We're looking forward to that. We're very looking forward to getting back home, but right now we have ministry here with you folks. My name is Ken Mansell. My wife Vicki we just celebrated 51 years of marriage in March, and first 51, just like it's our 42nd year in Japan, and that's our first 42nd year, first of the 42nd years. In 1983, Minneapolis Airport, Vicky's only brother and his family left for their first, David and Judy both left for their first term in Haiti, the country of Haiti. That afternoon from the very same Minneapolis airport, her parents had goodbye to their only daughter and son-in-law and 3 grandchildren for our first term in Japan. So in one day in the same airport, both children, all the grandchildren, off to the mission field for at least 4 years. And some well-meaning lady told my mother-in-law at that time, says, this must be terrible to lose your children and grandchildren to all in one day. And she said, no, that's exactly why we raised them. And that type of family support has been very, very helpful over the years. I'm not sure which way to go on this now. Vicki, why don't you go ahead and do your Kaisha Goto? I'm going to do a little presentation first. How about that? Okay. That first, we went to Japan in 1983 under a unique situation. In those days, like many today, missionaries going to Japan spend 3 to 5 years in deputation, have to raise between $10,000 and $15,000 a month support to go to the country of Japan. Because of the expense of living expense and expense of language training and ministry, especially if they're going to a large city like Tokyo or Osaka or Okinawa. Our veteran missionary who brought in for our lives had seen too many missionaries leave within the first 4 years for a variety of reasons. Right now, just a little more than half of the missionaries who make it to Japan after deputation leave within the first 4 years for many different reasons. Italy, I hear, is another one very, very heavily difficult of keeping missionaries in that country. His burden was to take a group of 3 men or a pair of couples, 2 families, and take them to the northernmost part of Japan, Hokkaido, where the living expenses was less. They could share expenses as a team of 3 men, or they could share expenses as 2 families, and that the men then could help each other and the women could help each other in their learning process, and the veteran missionary could be the mentor and guide as they learn. And well, yeah, that's very good. Thank you. A group of 3 young men did that before we went to Japan, and one of those young men is actually ended up marrying the missionary's daughter, and is still in northern Hokkaido, just the only missionary north of us, in fact, John Mather and his wife Ruthana. But we had another couple that was going to this, but their first daughter, as she was born, had some very serious physical difficulties, and they were not able to go. So we went to Japan, not at what was told we needed at that time at $3,000 a month support for a family of 5. We arrived in the country Japan with $700 a month support, which was quite Spartan of a support level, but it was enough for us to be able to survive and to be able to do what we need to do. I shared with Pastor a couple of the faith steps that God gave us during that time to build our faith, to live on that amount and have the different things that we trusted God with rather than appealing to people with. We've made it as a basis of those faith steps. God has put into our hearts a policy that we do not put money requests in our prayer letters. Only done it once in 42 years. That's when we had a matching, an offer of a matching funds when we were doing the siding on our building as we were rebuilding it. Other than that, as we report our finances to our supporting churches, that's when we tell our supporting churches what God has done in the past year. But if someone contacts us or through our home pastor or directly, then we will give them a need that way. Again, I was sharing with Pastor one of those instances where a man I knew had a lot of money called me and asked if we had any needs, and rather than giving him our whole laundry list, I gave him one small list, and we had interns at the time, and so we had some real good discussions on if a man approaches you and says he wants to give you God's blessing, he wants to bless you, and how would you respond to that? Instead of appealing and telling God what you need and letting God supply. And that was an exciting thing, and it turned out to give a great deal of money at one time, because God, I don't know what to do with that. And it ended up being a rotating fund for remodeling missionaries' houses and ministry buildings in northern Hokkaido over the years. But as with the story of Gideon, where God had only have 300 men, God works in different ways. And so the way that God did things with our life and our way is not always the only way to do things. I know that and understand that. But the Lord has allowed us to live in Japan for these 42 years. First 2 years was with the veteran missionary, learned the Japanese on the job through cassette tapes and textbooks. The local believers did some tutoring, and the missionary taught us our religious level of Japanese words. I'm not a linguist. Back when I yielded to preach in the first year of Bible college, I said, God, you know how I almost flunked Spanish in high school, and so God, I'll do anything, anywhere you want me to, as long as I can speak English. I put that little clause in my contract with God. It took 6.5 years before I gave that up. And once I did, I said, okay, God, I can't learn a foreign language, but God, if you want me to do that, I'll do that. And that's when he started leading us toward the Japanese language, one of the most difficult languages in the world for an English speaker to learn. And so I'm still not the best in Japanese, but the Lord has allowed us to be able to preach and teach and start a church and to continue there in Japan by God's grace. After the first 2 years in Wakkanai City, the Lord opened up a town called Teshio. Teshio, the Japanese kanji for that, is ten, which means heaven, and salt, shio, which means heaven and then salt. So we live in a town of heaven salt, and we're being ordered the salt, the heaven salt for Teshio. Our church is called Teshio Baptisto Seisho Kyokai, or Teshio Baptist Church, and it's a small work on the west coast of Hokkaido, the northernmost island of Japan. In fact, in the slides here you can see on the screen there the map of Japan. It looks like banana on its side, and the long, slender, bigger island there in the center is Honshu. That's the main island there. Down at the tip of that is Kyushu, and then nestled between kind of an arch there where Hiroshima and Nagano is an island called Shikoku, means 4 countries. And then those little dribbles down on the left, down on the left, that's Okinawa. You've heard of Okinawa, beautiful country area there. Now, at the top over here on the right-hand side, you have a triangle, a diamond-shaped island with that little hook off the left. See that little hook off the left there? So that's where a beautiful peninsula called Hakodate is. But at the very tip of the diamond up there, that's where Wakanai is. It's the northernmost city of all Japan. And just to the left, as you go down the Japan Sea side, which is Japan Sea, and then you have Korea and China and Russia over on this side of the map, that's where Tesshu is. And it's the mouth of the 4th longest river in Japan, the river of Tesshu. And then the next slide is our small, it's an alley. It actually used to be the railroad track, went down this road. But now we have houses on either side. That's actually no address for us here, because it used to be the railroad track. And our next door neighbor, as you're looking north there, past our sign and the deck that I have there, is the Sato's house, and just where their house is, that's where the old train station used to be. In the old days when the train went through there. And as we rotate around here on Google Maps a little bit, you can see that at the church, it has a 2-story, and then off to the right you can see the deck and the carport. And we actually live on the 2nd floor up there. And between the carport, to the right of the church door, there's a little walkway. You go past the big kerosene, the Toyu tank. We've got 450-liter kerosene tank that people look on Google and say, what are those big tanks that you have outside your house? Well, it's kerosene, because our heat that is fueled by that is our house entrance. And then the garage door, which is, I'm going to put the car in there because that's my workshop, is that the picture of the owl and stuff was done by one of our interns. It's kind of rusty, and I need to replace that door or do it again. It's been scraped and repainted several times. But as you come back around the front, and kind of a brick looking front, it's actually just siding. In the middle there, the door into the church. As you open that door there, what the stairs that one of our first interns actually built the concrete steps for us. You go into a little entry area called the Genkan, and that's where you take off your shoes. So make sure your socks are okay and the smell of them are okay, because you're going to go on in and put on little slippers as you go on into the church. And our church auditorium, I don't have a picture there, but it's about the auditorium. The length is about the width of the church here, and maybe the 4th pew back would be the other wall. That's our auditorium there. We have folding tables and chairs, which the Japanese like because they could sit and take notes. Our believers really like to take notes a lot. And we have now I transition where I have a TV to do PowerPoint outlines, so they not only get from Japanese here, but they also get Bible verses and different things, and I can do more illustrations and things for our believers there. So I have one last slide. Actually, two. This is our children when we were first left for Japan. Oldest son Richard on the left there, and on a beautiful lady called my wife on the there, and I'm the tall, a little bit hair on the top there. And then I got Michael, our second son here on the right, and then on my knee is Alicia. She was 2.5 years old when we arrived in Japan. And then the accompanying slide is now Richard, our oldest son, is an assistant pastor in Virginia. He has 3 beautiful girls from 21 to 16 years old. We just got to attend the middle one, graduation. And then Michael, he outgrew me. He's about 6'7", lives in Tucson, Arizona. He's an internet influencer, and he and his wife Lauren. We don't have grandchildren there. We have grand puppies there in Arizona, and that's also where our home church is. So it's a good combination. They don't always attend church like they ought to, so it gives us excuse to visit them. Because it's like grandpa and grandmas know it's easier to visit the kids that have grandkids, right? You enjoy that one. And then the last slide is our daughter Alicia. She has quite a crew now. She's married to Pastor Joshua Apple in South Central Iowa, a little town called Clio Country Church that has a great ministry in that area. 85 people supposed to be in the town, but they run 60 to 70 people in the church, and they have a great children's ministry on Wednesday. They bus and car in 50, 60 children for a King's Kids ministry, and on Fridays they have a homeschool co-op type thing that they do. Very, very active, and appreciate my son-in-law so much. He's a bus kid out of Chillicothe, Illinois. He and his brother both pastors, and just a real testimony there. The daughter Lisa is a tall redhead. Then you have Jacob. He's a senior, just finished his sophomore year at Ambassador Baptist College. He's going into evangelism. He's traveling this summer as part of his internship. To the right, Jason has really grown. He's got this cowboy boots, and God's put it in his heart to be a farmer. He's been a farmer for his heart for a long time. But he's actually the third one. Alyssa, just next to Alicia, they're almost twins. Both have the red hair and stuff, the auburn hair. And she's just graduated this year. And we've always got a young man already in her life that Dad's holding things back, hoping for, wait for her to be about 19 before he lets her be married. And then Anna Lynn, you think she's probably the second oldest. She's 14? 14 years old. And we call her Mama Anna because she takes care of everybody and cleans everything like that. But as our supporting churches know, the families of missionaries are an extension of your ministry all those years of prayer. And so that's why I just show. So I haven't been able to show the family pictures to new people for a long time. So it's one of my reasons I regret becoming a missionary. The only missionaries get to show pictures of the kids, and people enjoy it. I think so. Enjoy that. So our believers. Let's see that picture of Mrs. Snow. Yeah, Mrs. Snow there. Just kind of flip the hair at the top, and then next to her is Kinson. She's a Filipino that has come in to work with the medical services in our area. In fact, we have Filipinos, Taiwanese, Thailand people, Indonesian, Malaysian people that come in for different jobs. And so as we go back this time, we're going to be making special inroads into that area. Appreciate you watching my visual slideshow. I did that one time because my bow broke, and it worked out so well. I did do it in a big church in Idaho, Spring Church, and the next time I went to the church there, people were asking about particular people. So they said they remembered the invisible slideshow pictures that they made up in their minds more than they did the actual pictures. But God has been very good to us over the years. Besides allowing us to be able to start a church in Japan, see people saved, not a lot, but here and there and here and there. And mostly we get people coming into our town through job translations, transfers. 40% of jobs in Japan are automatic transfer type jobs. You don't have a choice in it, and it's not for promotion. They just transfer. That's just part of their system. So we get people come into Teshio. We have them for just a short period of time, and then they go on to someplace else. those people, because they're not attached to a local area, are usually easier to reach as foreigners. In America, we know who a foreigner is in America, but we usually are more accepting of other faces and people, people than a lot of places are. In Japan, everyone is Japanese. You're either Japanese or you're a foreigner, and a foreigner can never become a Japanese in any real sense of the word. That's like the Jews and the Gentiles in the Bible, very similar that way. And so, as a foreigner, or especially one that sticks out as much as I do, it's hard. There's a curiosity and an interest at first, but it's hard for them to allow you to come into their circle of life. And that is the slide presentation, the video presentation that my wife put together did a very good job of explaining that the word harmony is essential to Japanese psychic, cultural, and heart living. The idea that you do not cause problems, that harmony is the most important thing that you must maintain within the group that you're in. As the Japanese proverb says, the nail that sticks up will be pounded down. It's not that it's going to be tolerated, it will be forced down. And so if you in your group, whether it be your family group, your work group, your neighborhood group, it's no problem to change standards and things you do and not do based on whether it causes problems within that group. So to become a Christian and come out of that group, stick out. Japanese will rarely face physical persecution, but they face social and peer persecution if they come out and become a Christian, or even start being associated with a foreigner. That's why English teaching or other outreaches like that, like get involved in different social groups in the town that we can without a compromising testimony, so that we can allow the Japanese to approach us, so that we can get to talk to them, opening the doors for salvation, for teaching about salvation. Once God starts working in their hearts and starts drawing themselves and get opportunity to show them from the Word of God, the truth of God, you have to start with the very basic things. Sin. God is creator. We are responsible to Him. God will judge the earth. He will judge them. But they personally must make a decision for Christ. And those type of things, and the words that we use in Japanese, every one of them must be redefined. The most glaring example is the word sinner, which most people would understand what a sinner was. In Japanese, it's sumibito, which means a convicted criminal. Actually arrested, arraigned, tried, convicted, and sentenced criminal is what sumibito is. A great picture of what a sinner really is. But you just don't go up on the street and say, hey, did you realize you're a criminal? You kind of look like one. No. But it's every word that you use in Japan must be redefined. And I'm thinking also for Christians right now, we need to be careful, and even in English. Population does not understand English Christian terminology. We need to define it, eat and slowly there. But God's allowed us to do that. One of the other outreach ministries had, for 35 years, I was able to go into the local schools and help with English teaching. We also were able to help with a sister-city relationship with Homer, Alaska, and translating, and that gave us, I'm going to use this right now, to be able to help with translation with this sister-city relationship will allow us to have a viability within the local community. and help them with that. Very quickly, when I turned 70 years old, I decided that I was going to stop doing English and put my remaining strength just in the ministry itself. Over the years, we've had over 25 interns, because a lot of us able to, they can come over finish their missions requirements for college to do an internship, and we've had that opportunity. And we had one other family, and one lady came back for a year. Several of them are still in Japan. Some are on deputation for coming to Japan. They've been interns. But 2 years ago, the Lord, I thought God was through with internships for us. I know I was tired. I wanted to go a little bit slower, but God had different plans. 2 years ago, the Lord opened up hearts of Jaden and Allie Saltzman, who started talking to us. They and their pastor came over this last June to visit us. They went back and started putting together deputation stuff. They're well over 80% of their support, and they look like they're going to be able to make their goal of being in Japan in the month of August this year to begin their 2 to 3 years of internship. Not necessarily to take our place, but to train, and then God will decide where He wants him to be, wants them to be. And they just, Miss Sally just gave birth to their first child. So I think I'm stuck on that. Any questions or anything you might have off of that? Just a short period of questions before we be placed for Taishigo Special.
Tell us a little bit about your sending church and about the agency that coordinates your finances and that kind of thing.
Rather than going through a mission organization, God laid on our hearts in it to go out of our local church. Our local church now is Bethel Baptist Church of Tucson, Arizona. There are authorities going out, and we keep in communication with them. They requested that an organization called Central Missionary Clearinghouse in Houston, Texas, do our financial paperwork for us. When we first started with them 15 years ago, they had over 300 missionaries. Now they have well over 1,000 missionaries that they take care of throughout the world. And three of our supporting pastors are an unofficial board. If there's any other problems or difficulties, then the CMC will contact those pastors, and they will deal with me in whatever is necessary that way. So there's that oversight besides my own local church. But they take care of all our finances. Finances go into Central Missionary Clearinghouse. Once a month I get a report from them about what's given, and then they give, they take like $3.50 per support item, which is very minimal, and the rest is sent directly to us. And then once a month, then on about the 10th or 15th month, I send an expense report back to them to let them know what I spent for ministry, and the rest of it I'm responsible for the personal income there. And then at the end of the year, they send me a 1099 form of the personal expense things. They've already taken off all the ministry expenses, so I don't have to worry about itemizing or anything like that. We also have to report taxes to Japan, and so I do that to the local office, government office, and it's much easier in Japan, at least in Teshio, to do that than it is at U.S. taxes. But that's our combination that way. If that answers your question, very good question. Just another way of doing things. You give your, it's going to be playing, I'll see, you're going to do that, you want to do this here, is it okay? Because the other is not. We put the screen in, she's practicing on the Taishigo on there, on the Taishigo Taishogoto, like a Goto, what is
Taishogoto is probably one of about 3-4 really Japanese instruments. The reason it's called Taishogoto, there's an okoto, meaning a stringed instrument, and then this was invented in the Taisho era. The other one is very difficult to learn, but a man in the Taisho era wanted an instrument that would be Japanese, but then everyday housewife or a man could play it. And if you see black and white, what does that remind you of? Another instrument? The piano. So number 1 is middle C. So I can look at this and play anything in a hymn book because this is the keyboard like a piano, and I'm a pianist. So it's very simple to learn. The group I'm in, all of the music for the Taishogoto is written with the numbers in it. And if there's one count note, then it's just the number, say the number 1. If it's a half note, it will have a dot beside that 1. If it's supposed to be the octave above, it'll have the 1 with the dot on top, and if it's the octave below, it'll have the dot underneath. So it was very fun for me to pick this up as a pianist, and I get to play with a group and be with some ladies that way to get to know them. So I'll be playing day by day, and appreciate my accompanist here too tonight.
appreciate gracious hospitality of Pastor and Debbie to be able to stand in their ministry home, and the fact of allowing us to be here this evening, for Miss Melly's enthusiasm and having us be here, and the family. Appreciate to see them after a number of years, and appreciate that care. I've got a promise to keep, Miss Melly. If you open your Bibles to the book of Mark, chapter 2. Very quick this evening. That is by special request. In John chapter 2, or Mark, excuse me, apologies. Mark chapter 2, verse starting in verse 1. And again he entered into Capernaum after some days, and it was noised that he was in the house, of course being Jesus. And straightway many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them, no, not so much as about the door. And he preached the word unto them, and they come unto him, bringing one sick of the palsy, which was borne of 4. And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they uncovered the roof where he was, and when they had broken it up, they let down the bed where the sick of the palsy lay. When Jesus saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, thy sons be forgiven thee. But there were certain of the scribes sitting there, and reasoning in their hearts, Why does this man thus speak blasphemy? Who can forgive sins but God only? And immediately when Jesus perceived in his spirit that they so reasoned within themselves, he said unto them, Why reason ye these things in your hearts? Whether it is easier to say to the sick of the palsy, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or say, Arise, and take up thy bed and walk. But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins, he saith unto the sick of the palsy, I say unto thee, Arise, take up thy bed, and go thy way into thine house. And immediately he arose, took up the bed, and went forth before them all, insomuch that they were all amazed, and glorified God, saying, We never saw it on this fashion. Jesus was in the house. We're not told in Scripture whether or not these 4 men knew this man at all, whether they went out on purpose to get him, whether they'd seen him in the road, whether he's his friend, we have no idea. But this man, sick of the palsy, could not move. Now, Jesus was in a house in Capernaum. And when Jesus got there, people started coming to see a show. Even the Pharisees showed up. In fact, there was so many people there that the doors and the windows were completely covered with people. Nobody could get near. But that did not deter, I see if I can do this correctly. That way. 4 men had a burden for an unsaved man. Those 4 men went against the crowd and found the man sick of the palsy, and he couldn't walk, just lying on his bed. And they picked him up. They picked him up on his bed and carried him through the streets of Jerusalem, or Capernaum, until they got to the house where Jesus was at. And they tried to get him into the door, but the doorway was full of people that wanted to hear Jesus, wanted to see the show, but didn't care about a man sick of the palsy that needed to see Jesus. So they went over to the window, and the window was full of people, and they couldn't even get to let the man be able to see Jesus through the window. But of course, many of you know that in the Middle East, in Capernaum, the houses aren't built like they are here in Minnesota to shed the snow. They have flat roofs like this, and they have a kind of a barrier around the edge so people don't fall off the edge, because people have an outside stairway in order to go up on top of the roof, because on top of the roof they lay out their different vegetables and weeds and different things and dry things out on top of the roof. And so these 4 men took the man sick of the palsy, carried him up the stairs to the top of the roof, because they had an idea, and they started digging with their hands, and they dug a hole in the roof of this house that didn't belong to them, but they were desperate to get this man to Jesus. And once they started digging that hole, I'm sure that the dust started coming down, especially the Pharisees were really put out of mind because they got their clothes dirty because the dirt coming off the roof there. But then those four men let that man down in front of Jesus through that hole. And Jesus said, "Son, thy son's sins are forgiven thee." And those four men looking through the hole said, "We brought him here to get him to heal." Now, I know Jesus talks about forgiving sins, but Jesus knew what was most important. The Pharisees, of course, were all flustered because no one can forgive sins but God. But Jesus knew what they were thinking. Do you ever consider that you're sitting in church, the pastor's preaching, and God knows whether or not you're listening or not? Whether you're thinking about the ball game or something else? But Jesus told those people that they may know that the Son of Man, Jesus, has power on earth to forgive sins. He said to the man sick with palsy, "Stand up, take up thy bed, and walk." And immediately, no physical therapy at all, the man stood up, picked up his bed, and walked out. The key to this, very quickly, is in verse 5. When Jesus saw their faith is not the multitude. They were just rubberneckers. There, the plural for people there is not the Pharisees. They were just there to criticize. But there are those four men looking down through the hole. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the man sick with palsy, "Thy sins are forgiven." I believe there's a direct correlation between those four men caring about that man, taking the time, effort, and expense. I think they went back and fixed that hole, by the way, the next day, at their own expense. That's in Scripture, okay? I can't stand up. But it cost them to take that man to Jesus. When you, as a church, as an individual, reach out and God puts a burden on your heart for someone in this community, it's not going to just take one of you, it's going to take all of you. It's going to cost you. But it's worth it because when God sees your faith, He'll say to them, "Your sins are forgiven." That's what we do in Japan. That's what your missionaries do in foreign lands. Is go out and pick up men and women and children sick of sin and bring them to Jesus. Thank you for helping those missionaries. Thank you for praying for us. Father, thank you, Lord, for these folks. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present the ministry that you have allowed us to have in Japan. Thank you, Lord, for the ministry this church has in this community. Thank you, Lord, Pastor and his people. And Father, pray that you would enlighten the children and people that this would be able to reach their community with Christ. Give them the faith to do it. Because when Jesus sees our faith, that He acts in mighty ways. And we'll give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
Now, Brother Ken, before you get too far away,
Yes, sir.
let's just, so you know, Brother Mansell is a graduate of Pillsbury Baptist Bible College. He was on the staff at Prior Lake Baptist Church.
You pastor, yes.
You pastor at Prior Lake, and that's a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So he's not a local boy, but he's at least passed through Minnesota.
I'm a transit.
Yeah. Now, have any of you, like on YouTube or something, have you ever seen those videos of Japanese carpentry where they're, sawing, drilling square sockets and sawing, mortises and tenons, and it looks like nothing's going to fit together, and then they make it all fit and put a pin in, and it just holds. this man knows how to do that stuff. So when he talks about repairing the roof, he understands. One more thing,
Yes, sir.
just so folks can understand where you live, just tell us about the weather. What's the weather like where you live?
Right now, pretty nice. We have, in the winter time, we have between 20 and 25 feet of snow accumulated. But about 6 or 7 feet sitting on the ground. Summer we have, kind of like Minnesota, summer's a shorter, a little bit humid, but since we're on the coast, we have a nice breeze that way. We're right across from Siberia, so we get the Siberian winds picking up, moist air on the Sea of Japan and dumping snow on us. We have dairy farming, fish and construction in our area.
St. Cloud.
That's right, thank you. We're on the same latitude as St. Cloud, Minnesota, 45th parallel. In fact, if you took Japan right across the globe on the same latitude, we would be in northern Maine. Japan would be about the width of the original 13 colonies. Tokyo would be in Norfolk, Virginia. Okinawa would be in the Florida Keys. So you have the same weather, same winter when it's there as winter here. We're in the northern hemisphere. So when you guys are cold, we spent 6 years in Minnesota. It gets too cold to snow here. It doesn't get that cold in where we're at. So, thank you, sir.
You've got more water to insulate.
We do.
But that's why you've got more snow.
That's right.
Okay, well, thank you. And Phil and Jerry, if you could come.